guys, my name is Barby, and if you have not been here, now you know my name. What's your name? Just kidding, I don't care. Don't comment your name. Anyways, so today, I'm going to be talking about something I don't usually talk about, which I know I say every time, but none of these are things I usually talk about. And that is the music that helped make me into who I am today. I want to preface this a little bit by saying I know a lot of elitists are going to comment on this video and say, that's not a real band. I don't like that band. They whine all the time. But I do not care. Our taste does not have to be the same. I like a variety of different bands. And I'll also be reflecting at the end a little bit of my unpopular music opinions, which are going to piss a lot of people off. But again, this is my opinion. This is what makes me happy. This is how I feel. And that's really what it's all about, man. So, to start off, I want to tell you guys a little story. When I was younger, when I was like in 6th or 7th grade, I had this whole thing where I didn't really know what I wanted my aesthetic to be, or I didn't really know who I was. I didn't really know about the things I liked. I knew I took a really big interest in scary things, and I always had since I was a kid. If there was a scary piece of artwork at an art show, or there was a scary movie, that was always what I gravitated toward, just because I found the mystery of what was behind that so interesting. And My Chemical Romance really appealed to the little me at that time. I just found so much beauty in the sadness of their lyrics and so much story in these songs, not to mention they were all super catchy and all the music videos were things I just loved to watch. I fully immersed myself in the world of My Chemical Romance. So at the time, I actually didn't know that they were from New Jersey, my home state. I didn't know that they were from Belleville. I had no idea that there was so much history with My Chemical Romance that was in such close proximity to me. So it had nothing to do with that, but how amazing it is to learn something like that. It was just so cool. So a couple of my friends at the time had already listened to them. I got into them kind of by accident when I was on the phone with my friend and we were like making fun of these songs, and I remembered Helena from a video game I used to play when I was very young. So I looked it back up, and this time when I watched the video I was like, wow, this actually really makes sense to me in a strange way, and it just resonated with me entirely. So throughout the next couple of years, I got heavily involved in My Chemical Romance. They inspired a great deal of my aesthetic, a great deal of my ability to kind of immerse myself in the dark things and really embrace that part of life. And they taught me that that was like an okay thing to do. So having them there for me like throughout my later middle school and all of my high school years really made it a lot easier. Mind you, when My Chem broke up for a short period of time, actually it wasn't so short, it was a good number of years, but just how quickly it went is still amazing to me. I'm so happy they're back, but when they had first broken up, I was a freshman in high school. My cousins were all calling the house to make sure I was okay. I was not okay. I stayed in bed for like a week. I did not want to go to school. I was absolutely miserable that they had broken up just when I had the opportunity to find them and fully embrace them. But my age had it so, because when they were first getting their start, I wasn't really old enough to understand them or old enough to take part in their fan base. Luckily, I did get to see them on the World Contamination Tour before they broke up, which I had an amazing and awesome time with. I loved the World Contamination Tour. It was my first experience getting to see a rock concert live, and my mom took me when I was only 12 years old. So that really solidified my love for them, just how great they were live too. And the writings of Gerard and a lot of the members also kind of struck a chord with me, because I realized, you know what, like, these are actual people that really feel the things they're singing and writing about in their songs. And that always made a huge difference to me. I really love how weird Gerard is. I resonate with it a lot. When he went solo and he made his album Hesitant Alien, it had a lot of concepts that further inspired my writing and for me to do things differently. And when eventually they got back together and the Foundations of Decay came out, when I first listened to the song, I don't think it actually hit me how great it was, but now, even with just that song as our primary release right now, it makes me so excited to see what they're going to do next. So I recently got to see them again when they came back to New Jersey, and it was really surreal because I don't think anybody in that crowd thought that they'd be sitting there watching them all these years later when they seemed pretty confident and sure about their breakup. They seemed like they really thought that was the right thing to do. So everyone getting together in that huge arena to go see My Chemical Romance, who was once just this little emo band from New Jersey, was very heartwarming to me, because they really, you know, a lot of people probably told these guys that they couldn't make it. A lot of people probably told them that, you know, they're whiny or they're this or they're that, but they didn't stop, and they have created a lot of music that is just untouchable to me. This will always be my favorite band because without them, I wouldn't be who I am. I wouldn't have fully embraced my love in all these dark things, and I would not have known how okay that seriously was. So if my Chem ever watches this, you guys are very special to me. You got me through so much throughout my entire life and continue to in my adult life. And really just coming back to my love for them and being able to listen to a band that I feel like fully understands, fully gets it, and just writes about it so beautifully is really awesome. Now, here's some things that you might not know. The Black Parade is actually technically, although I'm not sure if Gerard would call it this, a concept album about a man dying of cancer. This man was not the most righteous throughout his life, and it touches on that a lot, but it can really make the whole listening experience different when you get into the lore behind the Black Parade. Additionally, Three Cheers for Sweet Revenge is also said to be a concept album about a man who must collect souls. Now, I don't remember exactly why he has to collect the souls, but he has to collect the souls of evil men. I think it's to get his girlfriend back. So when you listen to this even and you put that into perspective, it really just makes it a whole different experience. So I really appreciate the creativity My Chemical Romance puts into all their music. Their final album, quote unquote, because they did come out with Conventional Weapons after this, which was a bunch of EPs, but their final full-length album, Danger Days, was made into a comic book series by Gerard, and I have not been able to read it yet, but I'm really, really excited to see how he incorporated all these themes into a comic book. Because to be honest, the whole concept behind the album is really fascinating, and I think with what the COVID pandemic that happened recently, we can all kind of equate it a little bit more to real life. Like, it's these superheroes slash anti-heroes, depending on how you look at it, running away from an evil government called Better Living Industries. And everything is kind of banned, everything is kind of, you know, censored. And a lot of it reminds me of, especially the whole emphasis on contamination and trying to block contamination, really reminds me of the future we might have seen with the pandemic. I don't want to get too deep into that because, you know, it's a little bit depressing to talk about. It's a little bit of a sore subject for a lot of people. But my whole point is we saw a lot of Danger Days kind of take place in real life, and it makes it kind of prophetic and really interesting. So My Chemical Romance gets 2 thumbs up for me. I will always love pretty much every song that I've heard of them, and that's without bias. They just have not disappointed me as of yet, and I think it's a band that everyone could really learn to love if they understood a little bit more. So conversely, I actually did not find out about Ghost until I was in high school, and it was through my dad who showed me a bunch of their songs in the car. I still remember the first one I ever heard was Ritual. And at first I was like, oh, what is this nonsense? Because I would, you know, hear it time in and time out. But then when I actually got to sit down and listen to them, I found I developed a really strong love for Ghost. Most of that is because of their artistic approach to this. I've never seen a band do stuff like this before. If you've never been to a Ghost concert, one of my favorite things about seeing Ghost live is that they kind of make the whole thing like it's a satanic service. Like, before they come on, they'll turn down the lights, they'll play this old chanting, and they'll burn frankincense. And it just creates such a strong atmosphere. It creates such a strong vibe of these people who are all here to see this crazy band do crazy things. And it's just like a whole lot of fun. It's not just a show, it's a whole production that Ghost puts on, and I always really appreciated that. So Ghost does have a bit of a complicated history. They were not always like this put together, happy-go-lucky band, and we can't really say if they are or not because we don't know them personally, but the frontman, Tobias Forge, did not always go by Tobias Forge. For a while, he was just known as his character, which is multiple versions of Papa Emeritus, as well as Cardinal Copia. And, you know, since people didn't know who he was behind the mask, there wasn't really too much drama that we could get into in regards to the band. But after we found out, there was also some controversy with him underpaying other members and things like that, and it got a little bit messy. So for a while, my love for Ghost was a little bit diluted. I was just thinking, what's really going on behind the scenes that I don't know about? However, I have made amends with the whole thing myself, and I now continue to fully embrace Ghost as they are. So now a lot of new people are finding out about Ghost because of TikTok. Mariana Cross specifically, which is a very popular TikTok song, drew a lot of younger crowds and a lot of different people into their music. Now, on one hand, I don't really mind this so much because I think it's great that Ghost is getting the exposure they deserve. They're a really unique and good band, and I don't think people should be ashamed to announce that they love them. But they do get a lot of backlash. Like, a lot of people dub Ghost as Scooby-Doo chase music or not metal. But how can you decide what is metal and is not metal? These things are always up to the person hearing and receiving. They cannot be defined by some guy who thinks he knows better than you because he thinks his music is cooler. So I unapologetically really love this band. I unapologetically do not think that they are Scooby-Doo chase music, but even if they were, I would probably still love them just as much because this is a fantastic band. They inspired me so much creatively. They inspired a lot of the creepypastas I've written specifically because I think that taking the church and turning it into something demonic to be feared is a very great concept and works wonders in horror. And their music has always been very impactful for me because of that. I really appreciate that their songs tell stories and they make you feel a certain level of discomfort, but you can't help but dance. It's like just a perfect combination to me. And I really think that I wish we had more bands like that. I wish we had more bands with all this lore behind it. It just gives you a really, really good opportunity to explore beyond the music and really appreciate the entire concept for what it is. So definitely props to Ghost. My favorite Ghost song is Monstrance Clock, which is actually one of my favorite songs in the whole world. I can't even explain to you what that guitar solo does for me, but it is an absolutely amazing song, absolutely amazing band. I don't think I've ever heard anything from Ghost that I hated. I have some songs I prefer to others, some albums I prefer to others, and Fesasuum is by far my favorite Ghost album, but I don't think they've ever put anything out that I've turned my nose up at. Like, it's definitely all for a purpose and definitely all something you can listen to if you're in the specific mood for it. So I really love Ghost. I really am happy for them at their newfound success. I definitely don't see them as the type of band to really sell out, so I'm looking forward to whatever they have coming next, and I'm really looking forward to the new character that will replace Cardinal Copia, who, of all Tobias Forge's characters, is probably my least favorite. My favorite was probably Papa Emeritus III, because that's the one I got to see the most in concert. I did see Cardinal Copia in concert, and it was a huge show. Definitely a massive change from the first time I saw Ghost, but either way, I know my dad prefers Papa Emeritus II, and I'm sure, like, he probably was the coolest, given as that's the coolest album. But really, the only one that I can concisely remember is the third, because when I started listening to Ghost, that was their current. And it was great. I mean, he would go from this whole priest costume back to a little tuxedo and his hair slicked back, and it really just threw the whole thing for a loop, so it was fun. The entire character was a lot of fun. Ghost is, if nothing else, they are a ton of fun, and creatively they really excel, so I think this is a special band. I never get tired of listening to their music. There's a song for every mood I'm in, and I think, like, anybody who's into this sort of thing will probably feel the same way. So if you haven't tried Ghost out yet, and it sounds like something you'd like, don't listen to the people that just call them goth Nickelback. I think that's so stupid. I really don't know where that's coming from. I never understood the mass hatred for Ghost, but I really enjoy them, and I think they're worth a listen. So now I'm going to get into a couple of short but meaningful, unpopular opinions I have when it comes to music. So I don't actually have reasons for all these opinions, and obviously not everybody needs to agree with me, but this is how I feel. Okay, so first of all, I'm not a big fan of deathcore, which might surprise some of you actually. Like, a lot of people that look at me, they expect me to like the screaming and everything. Like, I just don't enjoy it, man. Conversely, I don't like rap either. So maybe it's something with me and kind of like talking/screaming instead of singing. I really don't know, but I've just never really been huge on it. Another unpopular opinion I hold is I'm not a big fan of indie rock either. We can get into my whole thoughts on the whole hipster movement another day, because that's a whole 20-minute video probably. But indie rock just never, I feel like it's trying to accomplish something, but it like doesn't know what it's trying to accomplish. Like, I feel like it's going for something, but it's like stopping right at that tipping point. I feel like it's just giving me nothing. Like, I feel like it's the same concepts over and over, but whoever wrote this tried to rework it to sound smart and pulled back a little just so that they could call themselves minimalistic. That's how it feels to me. So, not a big fan of indie rock either. Not a big fan of folk punk. I know a lot of people are going to hate me for this one. I just can't vibe with it, man. Folk punk is just to me, it's like a whole bunch of ranting with a guitar in the background. I just can't. It reminds me of like this place I used to hang out at, that it was like basically an entrance into a sewer. I just reminds me of that, just takes me right back to that. No offense to any folk punks. I'm sure you guys are awesome. I just do not like the music. So that has been me. That has been my take on a couple of musical styling / bands. And like I said before, Like I said before, I know not everyone is going to agree with me. And it's weird to me how defensive people really get about music, how they think that this is real and this is not real music. Well, guess what? Anything that has instruments and a vocalist, maybe not even a vocalist, anything instrumental can be classified as music, and it can be classified into a certain genre. I don't like it when people are like, oh, so you're wearing that shirt but you've never heard of that band, or oh, you think that's punk? I'll show you punk. Like, everybody likes what they like, and that has to be okay. Like, for instance, I just told you guys how I don't like indie rock, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna go walk into an MGMT show and be like, you guys are all posers. Like, I hate that. Whatever you like is what you like, and you don't have to know everything about it, or you don't have to listen to other bands of that genre. You're still valid no matter what. So, this has been Barbie. If you agree with me, hit subscribe. If you don't agree with me, you should still subscribe, because chances are you will someday. And thank you for watching.